playing with confidence. Serves it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
They have done it, the Bulldogs!
I'd find somebody for you. There ain't no wall I will run through. In your corner when I'm ringing the bell. Come hell or high water. I'd find somebody for you.
G'day WAFL fans, welcome one and all to another Thursday edition of Around the WAFL. Of course, it's our preview show as we usually do on a Thursday, hyping up the weekend of football, and what a big weekend it is going to be. Get set for the big wet, because it is set to be one of the wettest weekends in WAFL football in 2026, because we're expecting up to 70 millimetres of rain for the Friday night games, Saturday and Sunday night combined. So across all 3 days, if you're heading out to the footy, make sure you get the brollies and ponchos out to keep yourself dry, because it is a huge weekend of WAFL and WAFLW football. Round 12 of the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Premiership season, and round 13 of the ATCO WAFLW Premiership season, as the race for the 4 in that competition really heats up. And we've got a special guest from the reigning premiers of the WAFLW competition, Claremont Vice-Captain Jayme Harken. She's going to be joining me to talk about their big game coming up against East Fremantle. They're wanting to redeem themselves after a narrow loss earlier in the season at the Good Grocer Park. So that's going to be a critical game for Claremont and for the Sharks in their hopes for a top 2 finish come the end of July. It's going to be an exciting finish to the season, no doubt about that. We've also got the latest news that has been happening in the last few days before the weekend's action, and we've also got the teams for Friday night. East Perth and the West Coast Eagles, they are set to do battle to kick off round 12, and we've also got a preview of both the WAFL and WAFLW action this weekend. I've got my picks for each match ready to go, and I wonder if you agree with them. Let me know on our YouTube page or on our socials, Facebook and Instagram, if you get a chance to catch the show anytime, any place, anywhere throughout this episode. And you can check out all our ladders and the Around the WAFL Player of the Year leaderboard as well. As you can see, I'm riding solo again today for your Thursday preview show, but make no mistake about it, Rothy will come back on Monday for a recap of a huge weekend of football. So stay where you are on Monday, because it is going to be a huge recap show. We are proudly supported in season 2026 by Grants Car Stereo, Sullivan Logistics, District Promotions and Front Row Screen Sport. Great to have them on board in season 2026. Huge show starting right now here on Around the WAFL, and we're going to start with the big news from the last few days leading into the weekend's action. And of course, the news cycle was dominated by Malachi Champion and the West Coast Eagles. Cast your minds back to round 10. As Malachi Champion and Sebastian Bright of Swan Districts had a couple of heated tussles during the Eagles' 7-point win over the Swans. Both players were reported for different reasons. Seb Bright was suspended for striking Malachi Champion. And then, of course, the story that gained the most attention was Malachi Champion allegedly blowing his nose on Seb Bright's Guernsey during that game. Well, the Malachi Champion and the West Coast Eagles representatives met with WA Football at the Tribunal, the WAFL Tribunal, at the headquarters down in Chewett Hill. And the Eagles were delighted about the result, because Malachi Champion was found not guilty of serious misconduct following that incident in the round 10 matchup at Steel Blue Oval on June 13. That was during the second quarter. Malachi Champion is free to play and has been selected for the West Coast Eagles WAFL side to take on East Perth on Friday night. And there was a lot of discussion around it. There's been a lot of chit-chat on social media, and even from some reports that have been misinformed and with the wrong information. Make sure, don't believe everything you read. But WA Football, to their credit, put out a very, very good, very accurate statement following their case. So a job well done there. And of course, the West Coast Eagles, Malachi Champion, breathing a sigh of relief. Make no mistake about that, after all the hoopla that had been going on since Saturday. Still no word, however, about the alleged altercation in the Swan District's coach's box with the West Coast Eagles development coach Jacob Brennan, and we'll get information once that becomes available. Now, on to a more positive side of things. Obviously, this weekend is Think Mental Health Round, and a great initiative put on by WA Football. One of the clubs is putting together this great tribute in relation to one of their own that's lost a relative. East Fremantle, their inaugural Kai Fella game against Claremont on Saturday, will have a very extra special meaning, in particular for Cam Erdley. It was a great report yesterday about Cam Erdley losing his brother a decade ago, Kai Erdley, who passed away due to suicide 10 years ago. The Sharks are going to step out in very special Guernseys to honour Kai's life and raise awareness for the Kai Fella Foundation. And the foundation was started in the wake of Kai's death 10 years ago. I've seen the Guernseys. They are absolutely beautiful. Those special round or special game Guernseys have a wonderful meaning behind each occasion, and this one's no exception. And as one who has mental health battles every day, I could see what East Fremantle are doing, and they do a magnificent job. So you deserve a great round of applause to all at the East Fremantle Football Club for getting behind this occasion. And of course, East Fremantle going out in a special Kai Fella Foundation Guernseys on Saturday afternoon for that crucial game against Claremont. Finally, the under-16 squad, they've got their under-16 championship very shortly, and there is a lot of familiar names in the squad, especially some father-son prospects that could get picked up in a year or two in the AFL draft. Eli Wirapunda, who's the son of the Eagles' great David Wirapunda, premiership player in 2006. Troy Warner, the younger brother of Swans pair Chad and Corey Warner. They're back for a second year with the 16s. They impressed as bottom major players. Clancy Gaspar, the son of former Melbourne player Damien and nephew of fellow ex-AFL players Darren and Travis. Of course, he is an East Fremantle player as well. They'll be gearing up to tackle South Australia this weekend, and that is going to be a real good showing for some of those youngsters that are out there showcasing their skills against the best from South Australia. The Under-18 Championship as well in full swing. Of course, we had a bit of a tough day out against Vic Metro here in Western Australia. And of course, they've got a couple of away trips coming up to finish off their campaign. Only a couple of matches. They've got Vic Country and the Allies next up. So WA's boys are 1-1 at the present time, and they'll be looking for a big showing this weekend. We're going to take our first break here on Around the Waffle, but coming up afterwards, we have got a big preview of round 12 of the Sullivan Logistics Waffle Premiership season. I'll give you my picks for the game. Will you agree or disagree? Let me know on our YouTube channel and also on our socials as well. Of course, starting on Friday night, one game on Friday night, and then the rest on Saturday afternoon, all having huge ramifications as far as the finals are concerned. This could be a very interesting round, a round that could separate the best from the rest, because we're 11 rounds in and no position on the ladder has taken shape, apart from maybe the bottom two, but the battle for the 5 has not taken shape just yet. We'll have a preview right after the break. It's all thanks to Sullivan Logistics, District Promotions, Front Row Screen Sport and Grants Car Stereo Morley. Stay tuned, back with more after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the Waffle.
Valentine Roads and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The Waffle is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the Waffle on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
This is Around the WAFL for your Thursday, your preview show, Around the WAFL on YouTube and where you get your podcast. Paul Persick with you riding solo today. Of course, Ethan Roth will be back on Monday to recap round 12 of the WAFL and round 13 of the WAFLW. Speaking of the WAFL, let's get right into it. A huge preview of round 12. We've got a full contingent of matches for Think Mental Health Round, and it starts off with a big one on Friday night between East Perth and the West Coast Eagles. That is live on 7 Plus at 7:10. And gee, that is going to be a rip snorter of a contest. Make no mistake about that because of the form of both sides in recent weeks. Of course, East Perth, they've just gone off the boil a little bit. They've lost 3 out of their last 5, including their last 2 on the road, mind you. And of course, that road game against West Perth in the Derby and also last weekend by 98 points against Peel Thunder. And the teams really reflect on how East Perth are travelling. And the same can be said for the West Coast Eagles. And of course, they will be relieved they've got Malachi Champion back in. But the ins and outs, as you can see here, as the teams have already been named for this Friday night encounter, East Perth have made 4 changes to the side. They got thrashed by Peel Thunder. William Cassidy is in, Tyler Lindbergh, Thomas Medhat, and Anilio Pizzolanti in the side. But as you can see, 2 massive outs. Stan Wright, who was out through injury, and he may not play again until round 16. So a calf injury has sidelined him for 4 weeks. Ethan Regan is out, Kobe Burgill is out, and Cooper Stevens, he got suspended for kneeing a Peel player in that 98-point loss. So it's a massive couple of losses for East Perth heading into that game. And for the West Coast Eagles, 3 changes have been made. Jack Williams is out, Josh Burke is out, and Sasha Kernett also out. In Williams' case and Burke's case, well, Williams' case in particular, likely an AFL call-up for the Saturday game against Carlton at Marvel Stadium. Josh Burke is out through injury. He'll be out for a couple of weeks. And Sasha Kernett has just been dropped for that encounter. Edwards Baldwin in, Gross is very valuable. Will be starting on the bench, but can play a bit on the ball and on the wing. And Harvey Johnston is also in for the Eagles side. And Harvey will situate himself quite nicely down in the wing position and can play a bit of half forward as well. This is a game that could define the winner's season, the winners and the losers' season. Being at Underlights on a Friday night, it's an unknown for the clubs, although East Perth have played a couple of games at night, so they'll be familiar with the time slot. The West Coast Eagles, not so. They have played some morning matches and early afternoon matches this season, but a Friday night match, it's the first of 2 straight for the West Coast Eagles. They've got East Fremantle the following week, but with the way they move the football and how they've been able to generate a better team balance, they should be considered as favourites against East Perth, who have just lost their way a little bit. 3 out of their last 5, and without Hamish Brayshaw, they struggled to get going. And, you know, you're not taking or putting the heat on one particular player, but when you've got Brayshaw out of the side, and when you've got Stan Wright out of the side as well, having said that, to add to it, you've also got Cooper Stevens, and also Kobe Burgill, who's also out. Christian Amaduri, of course, he's still sidelined, may not play again until the end of the regular season. So it's really a second-rate side. And why I say second-rate, they're not a second-rate team. They don't play like second-rate, but there's not a lot of experience in that side. And that's why I've classified them as second-rate or B-grade or whatever you want to call them, because of the lack of experience that these players have got. Most of them, you know, you've got experience in Jones, Tedesco, Scott in the on-ball division, but they're going to be up against Matt Flynn, who is pleading his case for an AFL call-up. Harry Schoenberg and Finley McRae. McRae has been absolutely marvellous in midfield and can play up the ground as well. Sandy Brock down the back line could give East Perth's forward line a little bit of hell. Middleton, Graham, who of course is going to be huge in that forward line for East Perth, and also Thomas Medhat. What an addition that is going to be to the East Perth side. Can add some extra tall timber to back up the mosquito fleet of Foley and Wilcox. Desperate times will call for desperate measures, and for me, it's East Perth that is my pick in this game, because they need to show, despite the loss of experience that they have got and the loss of both their leaders, they need to show how desperate they truly are if they want to get back into the grand final spot. And to go up against the West Coast Eagles side that's going to be stacked with AFL talent, just having a look here, around about 15 or 16 AFL-listed players for the Eagles side, they're really going to have to be twice as desperate. Not just that, you've got the conditions above that are going to play a huge factor for or against. And East Perth will want to make it for them, because they're usually a very strong side in mixed conditions, and we've seen that a couple of times this season. South Fremantle being one of them, and of course with a couple of big wins on the board against Claremont and company as well. They've beaten both the not only the reigning premiers but also the then league leaders, so they've got to really stand up against the West Coast Eagles, who are going to be primed for this one. They want to beat East Perth after they got destroyed by nearly 7 goals in round 5 at Mineral Resources Park, so they got to be desperate here, East Perth. That's my pick. Who's yours for the game on Friday night? It's going to be a beauty, and the skies, when they open up, it's going to create a whole lot of contested football. There's no doubt about that. So will for Saturday. Now, there's 4 games taking place on Saturday. The teams are not out just yet, but of course, we'll put them out on the Around the Waffle socials to let you know who's in or out of the side, and that's including the WAFLW sides as well. First game on the Saturday, and this is a big game. Good Grocer Park playing host to East Fremantle, taking on Claremont. Now, cast your mind back earlier this season, and this was a very bad result for East Fremantle. Round 4, they were beaten by 111 points at Revo Fitness Stadium, but this is going to be huge for East Fremantle to try and reverse the result. Of course, the Kaifella Foundation game as part of Think Mental Health Round. Marvellous occasion, and to the East Fremantle fans, get on down to Good Grocer Park. Not only support your team in this game, but support a great foundation. The game itself is going to be so important for both sides. Both sides are coming off defeats, mind you, in their last encounters. Of course, Claremont, well, they need to be really desperate because they went off the boil, like East Perth in the last few weeks, because that loss to Perth really got a lot of questions being asked on the Claremont side. Can they really do it? Especially when their forward line was put out of business by the Perth defenders. Now they're going to have to go up against an East Fremantle side who are hoping to bring back Oscar Smart, because last week I said against Subiaco, their forward line dynamic wasn't really the same when Oscar Smart went out of the team due to personal reasons. But fingers crossed that he does get selected for this week when he does come back from his personal matter. And if he does, that will give Liam Robinson a lot of confidence to play at his best in the forward line, because without Oscar Smart, his game was a little bit off. But having said that, they've got a lot of good young on-ballers that can really fire against Claremont, who have got plenty of experience. Their experience is A+ at this stage, but their form has been anything but, especially in the last few weeks. Losses to East Perth and also West Coast, don't forget, in the last 3 weeks. So this is a game where Claremont need to get back into Claremont form, and that is now. Because against East Fremantle, hard ground to beat at the Good Grocer Park, although they did do that last time out. If you remember last year, they came back from a seemingly impossible position to sew the game up by less than a goal. So they can win at the Good Grocer Park, but with conditions forecast up to 40 millimetres of rain, it is going to be very tough, especially for the tall forwards. It may not be a day suited for tall forwards if the ground is slippery and very slushy, so the small forwards are really going to have to be on their game. Van Rooyen in particular, Main Waring. Jaden Hunter is a bit of a mid-sized forward, so not really a tall forward, but he can keep his feet. Kicked 7 goals in that loss to the West Coast Eagles, so he can kick a bag, but he really needs those small forwards to get in and around the contest and try and make it a hard task for East Fremantle, who have got a very good running game, no doubt about that. Led by Cameron Erdley, who's playing strong in midfield. John O'Marsh, of course, played a bit forward in that loss to Subiaco, kicked a goal, but the experiment down back cannot end with a game like that. And if I was Bill Monahan, I'd be putting him back down in the back line, because you've got to match up with the likes of DeLacy and Gowdy. You've got to find the players with the right height and right size to match up with those two and try and put them out of business the way Matthew Taylor and company for Perth did a couple of weeks ago in their win over the Tigers. So if I was Billy Monahan, I'd take a leaf out of Mark Stone's book and put 2 very good tall defenders on 2 good, very tall forwards. Having said that, though, my pick's Claremont. I reckon they got to show their class. They need to get back into trademark Claremont football, because they've not been that in the last few weeks. And Claremont, for me, will win it, but it'll be a close game. Make no mistake about that. And especially with the likes of England, Western, Rogers, Eastland, who will be up against Luke Stranatica in the ruck. That'll be another matchup to watch, no doubt. With the on-ballers firing and getting first to the football, dominating the clearances, that will also be one of the big keys for Claremont's win. Now, another interesting game on Saturday, also at 2:10 on 7+. By the way, the Claremont East Fremantle game you can see live on Channel 7. On 7+ on Saturday, Mineral Resources Park, it is Perth and South Fremantle. This one's a beauty. It is a beauty in prospect. The reigning premiers are back in the 5. Perth, their confidence is sky high at the moment after a great win against Claremont in their last hit out before their bye. South Fremantle, well, after a win against West Perth, they have lost a couple of players, however, with injury, Colborne and Bolognese, but massive return. And he has to be in that league side right away because of the spark that he brings in the middle. Matthew Parker, set to return from suspension. And what a battle he's going to have with Charlie Constable. Dare I say it, if you put them in the same matchup, it is going to be worth the entrance ticket alone. Both are sensational on ballers, great gather, good delivery, and their balance when they keep their feet is just second to none. With the experience they've had, VFL level, subsequently AFL level, both having been on an AFL list, Matty Parker at Richmond and Charlie Constable at the Gold Coast. Of course, he played in the VFL Premiership there. They've got the runs on the board and they can show the crowd, in spite of the conditions that they have got in store for them down there at Mineral Resources Park. Perth, one thing that could fall in their favour is their record at home. They've only lost twice at home this season, and they were both, of course, in different manners. They got smashed by Claremont in round 6, and then they pushed the last year's runners-up East Perth to within a kick. So they can take it to the likes of the top sides at home. They've been able to do so away this season. Keep in mind, they've been able to get wins on the road against East Fremantle and also Claremont. But South Fremantle, very formidable opposition. They were welcomed by the return of Noah Strom last week. Hamish Free in the ruck. He's going to make things a bit difficult for Josh Edwards. He's got a bit of a height advantage, a little bit more muscle, and his follow-up work is brilliant. So Edwards is going to have to be on his game. The forward line, very flexible, especially with Jermaine Jones. If he gets on those leads as that loose man in the 50, Perth's back line is going to have a tough day. But they've got the experience of Matthew Taylor to try and contain his influence. They've also got Charlie Dean in that side, so have a look out for him. He is taken to the WAFL like a duck to water. Looking at the sides, they can not really be at full strength. They're almost up there. They're still waiting on a return of Schlensog and also Indy Kirk, the former Sydney Swans VFL Premiership player. Noah Strom, of course, we talked about his return. He won't play in the game. Obviously, trip to Europe, he's going to be out until round 16. And Trey Rusco won't be back until round 17. That's the official word from South Fremantle. Of course, they've also got Jordan Bollineau. He's out. They're saying it's only a week before he can return. So still, that's a massive blow for South Fremantle. And of course, Perth, as I said, they're still waiting the return of Blake Schlensog. As far as the game is concerned, Saturday we'll see the grand entrance of the new Perth. We saw the teaser of the new Perth, and why I say teaser, it was the first showing of it. What they wrote on the whiteboard in their last hit out against Claremont was the new Perth, their capacity to finish off games against high-quality opposition rather than throwing it away like they'd done in years past. We saw what they could do against Claremont. They can do it again against South Fremantle. Perth is my pick at home to beat the reigning premiers and really make a claim for a top 3 finish. This Perth side has got more maturity this year than what they have last year because they've now been able to really develop a good quality of playing 4 quarters of football, and they finally did so against top opposition 2 weeks ago. And against the South Fremantle side that is going to be a bit depleted in their experience, Perth will want to exploit that and get themselves a good win at home in trying conditions. Perth is my pick for me, there's no doubt about that. Let's go to another big game. This one's a crucial one for both Subiaco and Swan Districts. That's at 2:30 at Sullivan Logistics Stadium, live, free and in full on 7plus, your home of WAFL football in 2026. This is, I know it's still pretty far away. Swans are 2 wins behind the big group of 20-point teams that are contending for a spot in the 5. Last chance saloon for Swan Districts. I can't put it any other way. It's last chance saloon for the Black Ducks if they want to really make a charge for a spot in the 5. They've got the cattle of any best playing 22 that can take it to the opposition. They've been able to stick with top 5 sides for 4 quarters. They weren't really able to do so most times in the last quarter. And against Subiaco, last time these 2 sides met, it was in round 7. That was the case. The game was in the balance. Only 3 goals was the margin. Subiaco was still in with Swan Districts rather was still in with a chance, but Subiaco just ran away with it in the last quarter. And Subi, man, their improvement has been nothing short of sensational under Jared Schofield. They're playing a better brand of football. They're not stagnant. They're always moving up the ground, and they've got greater discipline under Jared Schofield, and Scoey has instilled that very well into his side. And Swan Districts have got to have that same discipline if they want to take on the likes of Subiaco and still have themselves a chance of a spot in the 5 with 7 rounds to go after this game. But it's just their lack of consistency in the forward line. That's my big concern. They're often relying on Coleman, but having said that, I can take my hat off to Swan Districts for developing 2 very good forwards that can pick up where Coleman can leave off. Petrich and Stevens, and Provost and Petrich, the tale of the 2 tall peas. But just the way they've been able to get to the football and create those opportunities for themselves, be those extra avenues to goal, is going to be crucial for the Black Ducks. But for Subiaco, considering they haven't been with Borchett and of course Sokol for a number of weeks, and they're still getting crucial wins on the board, is a testament to the depth that Subiaco has. And my number one player at the moment, it's not Hickmott. Although we got the 5 votes last weekend, it's not Greg Clark. It's Marlon Corbett. The evolution in this man's game has been impressive. In fact, he was awarded one of the Player of the Month awards by WA Football, and it was well-deserved as well. For me, Corbett is having his best stretch of the season so far. Playing a bit of half-back, not usually his role. He wanted to be more utilised as a running midfielder, and he has done that, and he's played that role to utter perfection. You know, getting a lot of possessions, adding more pace in Subiaco's game, and pace and class are the 2 biggest attributes that Subiaco have improved on as a football side in 2026, and that's why I'm going for them to beat Swan Districts quite handsomely too. Class all round the ground, such a vital aspect for Subiaco in this game against the Swannies, who obviously they can take it to sides in patches, but they need to stick fat for 4 quarters. That's how you get it done against top WAFL sides. And Swans, they look a top side. They need to prove that they are a top side. If they win, then they could still be in with a slight chance of making the 5, depending on how other results go their way. Keep in mind, 2 wins separating 1st through to 8th. Very close at the moment. Last game of round 12. At HIF Health Insurance Oval in Joondalup, it's West Perth taking on Peel Thunder. And one would suggest that this could mean a sense of deja vu, because if you remember in the corresponding fixture last year, Jason Salisic was sacked the week before the game. Paul Sanzoni took over. And Paul Sanzoni continued on that tradition or myth or whatever you want to call it of first-up coaches winning their first games, if you remember. Paul Sanzoni got the job done in his first game. But will it be a repeat? It's going to be hard to say yes, because Peel looked stacked. The blessing in disguise with the Dockers only having Sam Sturt as a test on their injury list goes to show that Fremantle are rocking and rolling. They are fit as a fiddle, and it feeds off so well on Peel Thunder as a football side. You look at their experience, they had 15 players on the Dockers list, and I said on Monday that there needs to be a harder cap. Having said that, they will still go in against West Perth as overwhelming favourites. I don't care if you put 10 or 12. I don't care if you have 5 Dockers in the side. Peel Thunder are on a roll, and it's the only definite certainty of the week. Peel in a landslide. And why I say that is because Peel have got so many weapons around the ball. Doesn't matter if it's Freo listed or locals. Under Adam Reid, who's got a great professional standard in his coaching, has just been magnificent. And the team has been magnificent as well, because, you know, they just play an exciting AFL level brand of football, and they often kick big scores. They're a big scoring side, because if you remember last year when they had a lot of injuries, they couldn't really execute their attacking game plan. This year, with virtually no injuries to key players whatsoever, they have been magnificent. They have been brilliant. And it could be a repeat, rather, of their clash in round 5, if you remember. 21-9 to 10-4. That was a toweling. And I fear this one could be as well. And for West Perth, obviously with the day against South Fremantle getting worse with the loss of Moulton with an ACL, season done. Kane Bevan out for a few games at least with concussion. West Perth are going in with a second-string side, really, in spite of the experience that they have got on the field. Black, Meadows, Keitel, not who might come back after being suspended from that game against South Fremantle. Peel, too good, too strong. That's the only certainty. I'm so certain that Peel will win. When I do a waffle segment on radio on Sport FM, shout out to Declan Kelly and the Sports Connection. If Peel lose, if they somehow lose this game, I don't think they will, but if somehow they lose, tune in to the Sports Connection, a little bit of a plug, on Tuesday with Peter Giannoli on Sport FM. I will single out every Peel player if they lose, because I'm so confident that they're going to win. It's a landslide. I mean, all the other 4 games, they're no certainties, but this one is. And this is no disrespect to West Perth. I'm only just going by form in this competition and the depth and talent that Peel have got in their side. And West Perth, they're going to be depleted. But if I'm proven wrong, I'll take my hat off to West Perth, but Peel will be in for a spray. It's them. They got to win. They've got to show that they, regardless of the quality of the opposition, can beat sides anywhere on the ladder. They can't go from beating last year's runners-up by 98 points to losing to bottom team West Perth. They cannot go to that place. And no doubt Adam Reid will instill that same message on Saturday. Peel for me. Huge weekend It's going to be a beauty. Round 12 of the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Premiership season. Stay where you are, ladies and gentlemen. Jayme Harken, Claremont Vice-Captain, and of course State Team Captain, multi-time Dara Kerr medalist. She's got the runs on the board. She's preparing for a big clash against East Fremantle on Saturday. She'll be chatting with me here on Around the WAFL, looking ahead to the big game and to the remainder of the season as Claremont continue their push for another grand final berth. Stay where you are. More Around the WAFL coming up next.
Take it from me, great things happen at the WAFL.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The WAFL is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the WAFL on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate.
On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
Thanks for joining us here on Around the WAFL, your go-to WAFL podcast in season 2026. Paul Persick with you, riding solo here at the Henhouse Studios in Osborne Park, the home of Around the WAFL this season. We do thank the fine folks at the Henhouse for having us here Mondays and Thursdays recording in 2026. And also a big thanks to our supporters, Grant's Car Stereo, Front Row Screens, Sullivan Logistics and District Promotions backing us in the season. Okay, WAFLW time, second half of the show, all about the WAFLW competition. And by gee, it's been a great competition so far. We have got just 6 rounds remaining before the finals, and all the teams, especially round first through to 6th, are going to be staking their claim for a spot in the 4, and it's getting very tight. Claremont, they're just about there once again. They're well clear in second place, and they've got East Fremantle coming up this weekend at the Good Gross at Revo Fitness Stadium. Of course, they met in a thriller. East Fremantle just got up in the end, and the reigning premiers are determined to reverse the result. But they do have a couple of experienced players out of the side, and to address that and more, and what the keys for Claremont will be in this game, is not only their state team captain from back in May, but also one of Claremont's key leaders of the side. Their Vice-Captain Jayme Harken is good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Hello, Jayme.
Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for having me.
Great to have you on the show for this Thursday preview show. Let's get right into it. It's a huge game, this one. Fierce rivalry, a modern rivalry this has been. Claremont and East Fremantle, your sides have always seemed to play a lot of close games. It seems one-sided games are just out of the question whenever you meet East Fremantle.
Yeah, just when we think it might slow down, the rivalry continues. But no, I'm really excited for this weekend. It's, as you mentioned before, going to be a really tough battle. They've been flying this year as well, so really looking forward to the challenge after the really close one a few weeks back.
They're defying expectations, are they? Because they've got a very young side. You know, their average age is around the low 20s, similar to Swan Districts. And do you feel that, you know, they've taken everybody, including your side, by surprise with the wins they've been able to pick up?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't say by surprise, because I think they just have that culture with a winning ability, but definitely wasn't expecting them to be as high as they were right throughout the season as well. I could definitely expect them to come together and build under a new coach with new players in the side, and as you mentioned, that youth as well. But they've been flying in all season, and definitely, they beat us back in round 6 or 7 when it was, and they're really tough opponents.
Claremont have lost a couple of experienced players through different matters, with Juliet Kelly being picked up by the Adelaide Crows as an injury replacement player, Tilly Sargent and Claire Ortlip out with long-term injuries. Obviously, that's 3 great players, 3 key players out of the side, but what's so good about Claremont is that you not only have great resources to access great talent through the Rogers Cup, but also the depth in the senior side is second to none at this stage. Despite the losses of 3 key players, your side still goes in, high on confidence, and the talent and commitment is always second to none, isn't it?
Yeah, and we really pride ourselves on that as well, making sure that, 1 to 35 are all being developed at the same rate and getting the opportunities when they come. And as you said, they're really key players that we lost for, as you said, various reasons. Huge losses, Claire and Tildy, obviously they'll be a year-long wait. But with Juliet Kelly, we're super stoked for her, and we knew that it was going to happen eventually, but we just weren't sure when, because she definitely deserved it. But the girls that have come through, we have faith in everyone who plays, and it's just so exciting to provide opportunities. Like the last few weeks, Pippa Wilson coming into the midfield, Edie Edwards, backline, and Ruck as well. We've had a few debutants this year, and I'm sure we'll have many more as well. But we definitely like to challenge each other week on week, and selection never gets any easier. So really happy with where we're at with the squad.
It was an amazing story about one of your players that had not stepped foot on a WAFLW football field in almost a couple of years. Tell us about that. It was an amazing story in recent weeks.
Was that Hayley Bullis?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Bullis is an ex-Tiger, but she's been busy playing a trade at AFLW for many years, and then had a few years off as well after a knee injury. And we were only discussing it the other day that there was only a few of us that actually played with her. While we've had, continuing success, we have had a big turnover of players still. And, I reckon there was only 4 or 5 of us that have actually played with Bullis, and having her back in the side, her love for footy wasn't quite gone yet, so we're really stoked to have her just as an experienced head. She's playing a bit of a different role out on the wing. She used to play inside mid, so really stoked to have Bullis as a part of the squad again, and she's been a huge help for us.
Hayley Bullis, she's not lost a spring in her step since coming back. It was a great story and great to see her return to the Claremont Tigers and the WAFLW competition in recent weeks. Now, wet weather footy is obviously a different kettle of fish in this modern era of WAFL football. Of course, they're forecast around about 25 to 35 millimetres of rain on Saturday afternoon. The ground's going to be very muddy and very slippery, but your side has got, enough class and adaptability to take on an East Fremantle side who have got a young lineup, but they're not quite used to the wet weather just yet.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I keep looking at the forecast because Perth doing first things. You think it's going to rain and then it doesn't rain, but I'm pretty sure it's going to rain pretty heavily on the weekend. And what an exciting challenge that is. I think with the styles of play, we love it in the contest, but East Freo love to keep the sides to low scores, so it's going to make it a really interesting battle on Saturday. And super excited. As an inside mid, love a bit of wet weather footy and the contest, and I know the girls will thrive off that too.
Should be a great clash. Hopefully one of those grand finals in years gone by at Lathlane and at Joondalup, as well as Revo Fitness Stadium a few years ago, and the conditions are certainly going to be a great leveller. Jayme, we really appreciate your time here on Around the WAFL. All the very best for the big one on Saturday. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks as always, Paul.
Yes, superstar Jayme Harken joining us here on Around the WAFL, the vice-captain of Claremont. And gee, what a story that was in recent weeks. Hayley Bullis returning to the Claremont side. We've had a lot of experienced faces return after years away, and obviously with the AFLW competition not too far away, it's good to see that the AFLW clubs have allowed their players that play here in WA to play with their WAFLW club, just to get a bit of run-on and miles in the legs to get themselves ready for the AFLW season. And, of course, with that exhibition game, the international rules, Australia and Ireland, that'll be a nice warm-up for that as well. And that's in the midst of the finals as well. So that is going to be huge, make no mistake about that. So will the run home to the WAFLW finals. The ATCO WAFLW Premiership season well in full swing. It's round 13, and gee, there are some huge games, make no mistake about that. 3 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday night. haven't had a Sunday night WAFL or WAFLW game in quite some time, but hey, what the hell? It's all going to be in good fun, no doubt about that. Let's start off this big game. This is a beauty. Steel Blue Oval. Swan Districts, the league leaders, up against Subiaco. Now, Subiaco, they are still in with a chance of making the Final Four. Despite the loss to East Fremantle, results did go their way in the last week. And with the experience that they have got, they need to put a good run of results together, and they need to now. Because this Saturday, 3 words: last chance saloon for Subiaco. Because with the experience that they have got, their intensity has not been there in some of the matches. And despite the talent that they've got some really good talent, don't get me wrong. Petrevsky, the Dara Kerr medalist, Steen, Dana Hooker, the former Eagle, who's getting a good return so far, getting a lot of possessions. They just need to find a way to take on the upper sides on the ladder, because they just haven't been able to apply that same intensity through midfield up into the forward line. Their back lines have had to work overtime, and that has been the big concern for Baker Denneman and the coaching staff over there at Subiaco. And when you're taking on a Swan District side who've only lost once this year, they're hard to beat at home. Oh, by gee, it's going to be a long, long afternoon, you would feel. But as Jayme Harken alluded to a little earlier, you've got to love a bit of wet weather football, and it's going to create a great leveller, because Swan Districts, in the wet, they've been really good some of the time this season, although there hasn't been a lot of wet weather football this season, especially when you've got all-class Jamie Henry, 51 disposals. And I'll say again, how the bloody hell did she not get drafted? I reckon the AFLW selectors haven't seen something that we've already seen. And you'd reckon if Jayme Harken gets another 50 possessions, you'd think, what do you got to do? But she is all class, and she's got great backup in the midfield as well. You've got Baker in there, Lauren Quaife in the ruck, all outstanding. And they're a side, whenever they get on the board, they like to control the game through physical pressure and getting first to the football, and they like to dominate the contest. And okay, their victory margins haven't shown, dominant. They don't suggest domination, but just how the contest plays out. Swan Districts are a team that likes to dominate. And I'm afraid to say, I've got a bad feeling for Subiaco. I feel that Swan Districts emphatically are going to continue their run atop the ladder. And when I say emphatically, the margin, I feel, could be a big one. But if Subiaco can push Swan Districts, and, even better, if they could cause an upset, I take my hat off to them. They'll still give themselves a chance. But they, similar to East Perth against West Coast in the men's game on Friday night, desperate times call for desperate measures, and Subiaco need to show how desperate they can be. After reaching the preliminary final last year and getting beaten by the Swans, they need to show that they can take it up a notch and, get themselves to a grand final down the track. But they need to produce a good run of wins. Baker Denneman will press that home very, very hard across the week, but it's going to be tough. My pick is Swan Districts, and they need to do so emphatically. I feel it's going to be a long, long day. Then we go to Revo Fitness Stadium at 3:05 on Saturday, live on the WAFL YouTube channel, like all matches on the WAFL YouTube channel in the WAFLW, live, free and in full. This is a biggie. Claremont and East Fremantle at Revo Fitness Stadium, live on the WAFL YouTube channel. They have had some sensational encounters. You put Claremont versus East Fremantle and one-sided contest in the same sentence, does not make sense whatsoever. These teams have got a great rivalry. As Jayme Harken said moments ago, if you think the rivalry's slowing down, then you get another close one again. It just keeps on going. Claremont and East Fremantle, they have been fierce modern rivals. There's no doubt about that, and you'd expect another fierce contest on Saturday, the first at Revo Fitness Stadium since round 3 last year. And Claremont, without a lot of their experience, Kelly, Ortlip and Sargent, out for either being picked up by the Adelaide Crows in the AFLW, in the case of Julia Kelly, or in the case of Ortlip and Sargent with injuries. Claremont, they still have depth by the bucket load, and they've been able to debut some very good youngsters in the side and utilise players in different positions that has not only developed their game, but boosted their game as far as Claremont and a good brand of footy is concerned. While East Fremantle have defied expectations, this one is going to be a clash where they need to defy expectations again. When you have the likes of Repacholi being, a key cog in the back line, their midfield and their forwards, Jersey Brown. You've also got Nichols in there and a couple of others. Zoe Keeley in the ruck. Zoe Keeley is going to be one to look out for, because you've got Matilda Sargent there, the key ruck for Claremont, out for the season, and she might not have it easy, I don't think. No doubt about that, because of the wet conditions that are forecast at Revo Fitness Stadium. Without Kelly, Ortlip and Sargent, Claremont still have weapons. That's why I've picked them to win, but it's not going to be easy because this East Fremantle side, they show great hunger and desperation at the contest, and the wet weather is certainly going to be more suited to their style of football. They don't like to score big, but they like to keep opponents from scoring. They're so defensive-minded, and that's a good thing to some extent. You know, you can only do it for so long until opposition attacking lineups can work you out. And I reckon Claremont will work them out very easily because even though they've got 3 players missing, 3 very high-quality players missing, they've got just about as many high-quality players still out there on the field. Rachel Ortlett being one of them, Jayme Harken as well. You've also got Beck Anderson in there as well. Ruby Sargent-Wilson, of course, who was out last week, but she's back in the side this week. And they've still got depth by the bucket load, as I said earlier. Claremont to win against East Fremantle, but it won't be easy. Perth and South Fremantle is next up, 5 o'clock at Mineral Resources Park, just after the league game, mind you. So it's a nice little double header to get the footy juices flowing on Saturday. And that is live on the WAFL YouTube channel, Saturday from 5 o'clock. And gee, they've had some good encounters in recent times. Of course, Perth, first ever win last year in the WAFLW. And then, of course, the draw. If you remember, Amy Trindade got a goal just before the siren to share the points with South Fremantle. And this is a game where Perth, they might be on the way to a fairy tale spot in the 4 if they win, because they've been able to, really show their character against some of the top sides in the WAFLW competition. Only their second year, and Steph Wadling has really instilled that resiliency and discipline around her team, and it's been to great effect with 5 wins on the board this season, and they could double their win tally with 6. South Fremantle, they're teetering at the moment. They're teetering between getting a spot in the 4 or, being out of the race after the home and away season's completed. I mean, when you look at their results so far, despite the amazing level of talent that South Fremantle have got in their side, they've been a bit up and down. They've had a run of wins, and then they've had that loss against a side that they shouldn't have. Think about this. They beat Subiaco and Peel Thunder by less than 4 goals, and then they had a loss in the Derby, and that was at the end of May, right? And then they had big wins against East Perth and West Perth, of course, with the West Perth after the siren. And then they get thrashed by Swan Districts at Fremantle Oval just last week. So trying to search for a semblance of consistency has still been an issue for South Fremantle. And, they've got a hell of a lineup. I mean, an amazing lineup of talent that they have got. Vandenberg, Newson, Entwistle, who's been in great form. Newson and Vandenberg have played all the games so far. So have Tua Carena, Roger, Shannon Pommersback, who kicked the winner against West Perth, Hunter Cronin, Polomeno, Ash Gomes, who got suspended earlier this season. She's been able to play most of the games to great effect. But I just feel something's telling me that Perth are going to get up here. Something is going to tell me that Perth will win this game, because the way they've improved this season, they've been the biggest improvers of 2026. They had a great first year. They're having an even better second year. And when you have the likes of Isabella Shannon, Molly Warren, Isla Baldwin, who have all been terrific, they're developing a class brand of football. They're showing great development in their skill and in their physical pressure. And Perth, if they win this one, there's every chance that they might be on the way to a fairy tale spot in the 4. And for that reason, Perth will be my pick for this weekend at Mineral Resources Park against the Bulldogs. Then a Sunday night game at HIF Health Insurance Oval, live on the WAFL YouTube channel. Quirky fixture, this one, as far as the time is concerned. It is West Perth and Peel Thunder from Joondalup, and what an important game this is for both sides. And why I say important, because obviously Peel, they've lost 11 from their 11 games. West Perth, after that loss to South Fremantle, they had the bye. And of course now they're needing to win every remaining game. Let's not sugarcoat that. They're having to win every remaining game for season 2026 to really stake their claim for a spot in the 4, let alone top 2, because it's still possible for them to finish in the top 2, but they got to just keep on winning and winning, because they, like South Fremantle, are still searching for, a good resemblance of consistency in their setup. And with, a mix of youth and experience, blending the team balance right, it has been a really hard task. Think about this. It's a similar case to South Fremantle. They had a good win, claiming Subiaco for the second time in a row, and then they had 2 straight losses, then they had 2 straight wins, then 2 straight losses, and then another 2 straight wins. They lost to South Fremantle, and they want to reverse the trend against Peel Thunder and avoid back-to-back losses for the 3rd time this season. And gee, they need a big win. They need a big win to reinforce that West Perth can still have the capabilities of chasing a spot in the 4. when you look at their side, McAvoy, Fisher, Sarah Rio, the Vanden Heavers, Caleb Vanden Heaver playing all 10 games so far. Jess Roper, who, without a doubt in my mind, has been one of West Perth's best. Zoe Huggett, 16 goals for the season. And Grasenis with an average of under 10 disposals. But she has been one of those number one defenders in the West Perth side. As for Peel Thunder, I said it before and I'll say it again, they've been a side that their midfield setup at best is one-dimensional because of their heavy reliance on Chloe Wrigley. And as a result, they just haven't been able to get, a good synergy going. Their only games that they've been able to get close in has been the clashes with East Perth, in which they've lost both of them. And then, of course, the game against Subiaco back in round 5, where they pushed Subiaco to 8 points. But, they just got to find a better gel to try and complement the work of Chloe Wrigley, because she's been having to, do a lot of that work. She's shouldered the workload for the midfield this season, and you can only do it for so long until things start to get out of hand. And, these big losses are getting out of hand for Peel Thunder. But you'd feel that this could be another one, because West Perth, they've got a big situation ahead of them. They need to win if they're to continue their push for a spot in the 4. And that's why I've gone with West Perth. They've got a little more to play for. They're fired up and need the motivation to push themselves for a fight in the 4. And they're going to use that to a big win on Sunday night. Make no mistake about that. And they need a big win. Peel, they need to put in a very good effort. Their desperation needs to be up there. And if it's not up there, then only more trouble is going to be brewing for the Peel Thunder side. That's round 13. And all the matches, by the way, you can see on the WAFL YouTube channel, live, free, and in full. We'll take one final break, and when we do come back, we'll give you a teaser for next week. Around the WAFL on location will return. But where are we going? We'll tell you after the break.
Take it from me, great things happen at the WAFL.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick-to-kick at every break. The WAFL is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the WAFL on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the WAFL. We're not too far away from wrapping things up. And hey, you can check out our socials, Facebook and Instagram, if you want to see who's in or out of your side. And of course, we'll give you that on Friday when the teams are unveiled in both the WAFL and the WAFLW competition. Of course, you heard the teams earlier for the Friday night game, East Perth and West Coast. And you'll hear the rest on Friday morning as well before the round. Now, on location, that will make its return, and we're going to give you a nice little taste now because we are heading off to West Perth for the first time this season, and we're going to be speaking with Paul Sanzoni of the West Perth Football Club. His first full year as coach. He's only won one game since 2026 began. That was the Derby, and of course, he's ran through the gamut in the first season as coach. Of course, big losses, a lot of injuries, player turnover, and trying to fit the right team balance into his game plan. And I'll be speaking with Paul Sanzoni during the week, putting together this on-location piece, and we're going to show it to you next Thursday night. So make sure you tune in for that. And of course, if you miss out on the show, the alternative way is you can see it on our socials when it drops on Facebook and Instagram on Friday morning. So make sure you keep your eyes and ears peeled for those. Next Monday, Rothy will be back to recap all the great action from round 12 of the WAFL and round 13 of the WAFLW. And you can check us out on YouTube and where you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for your company. It's been another big Thursday of previews. I'll see you at the footy this weekend. It's a huge list of matches in the WAFL and the WAFLW, so make sure you don't miss any one of them. Thanks so much for your company. We'll see you on Monday.